Hello and welcome to the Cloud Blue podcast. And this is our end of season awards show, but with a twist. It's the alternative end of season awards, which we did do last year. We're not going to hand out player of the season to Tielemans and best goal to John Durangs. It's boring and obvious. So we've got a handful of categories that we're going to go through. I'm your host for this one, Dan Rolinson, and this podcast is sponsored by NordVPN as always. And I'm joined by Neil Dunworth from the For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast and Matt Lynch from Matt Lynch. How are we doing, gents? You okay?
Never been better.
Doing much better than I was at 5 to 6 yesterday. I can tell you that. I was I needed minding for about an hour or two afterwards. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely same. I don't want to say I've got over it because I haven't, and I won't for a long time. But we're not going to talk about Man United and Old Trafford probably ever again until we play them again. So let's put that to one side. The eagle-eyed amongst you watching will notice I've changed my setup at home. So now I'm looking at a camera, which feels very unnatural because Matt and Neil are over there. And this looks weird if I'm not looking. So I'm kind of going to be all over the place. My comments are here. The lads are there. My camera's there. Weird. I also was really, really hoping to use Champions League branding on the video version. Sadly, I had to spend the afternoon making a Europa League version, which no one wants to see. Although the orange does quite look good, doesn't it? Before we get into it, a serious topic out of the way very quickly. We are doing this live on Monday evening. It's 8:10. And just before we come on, I was doing all the prep. I've seen some videos from what's happened at the Liverpool parade this evening, and some of you will have seen it. You'll probably all have heard about it. And this is not a Liverpool podcast, but it's a football thing. I felt like impacted by watching what I saw that I just had to say something. So obviously our thoughts, and the lads the same, go out to everyone in Liverpool, but it just makes your mind race of the possibilities of what goes wrong and what went wrong. But one of the videos I saw, there was people going in on the car, punching it, trying to get in at this person to stop them or whatever. And somebody in the background says something like, "Careful though, you don't know what's in the car." And I just had this realization of like, these things could be like so much worse than they are. That massive gatherings of people and just nasty, horrible people out there that are out to do bad has really kind of affected me before we started this. I don't want to kind of bring the mood down before we even start, but I couldn't come onto a football podcast and having just seen what has happened to other football fans and not just say something. So that's kind of my bit. I don't know whether you lads want to add anything or not.
Yeah, I was sent that awful video, and like in 2025 or at any time in the history of the world, like for that to happen on such a joyous occasion for Liverpool fans, you would have to wait till more comes out on it, and wait till there's more reporting on potential, anything else that goes on. But thoughts go to everybody. Hope everybody affected by it and comes out the other side all fit and well. But like, when's this stuff going to end?
Yeah, it's horrible. I've just had a glance at the comments and my mic wasn't on. So good start with me changing all of my setup. Didn't turn my mic back on. So very quickly for the audio listeners, I can edit all that out. We're doing our end of season Aston Villa awards. They're the alternative awards. We did this the same last year. We're not going to hand out goal of the season to Duran or player of the season to Tielemans because boo, boring. So we've got a different set of categories. I'm joined by Neil and Matt Lynch for this one. We're doing it live, so if you want to get involved in the comments, you can do so. I can flash them up on screen permanently, so please be nice in the comments, otherwise I'll have to turn that feature off. They should flash up underneath here somewhere, so you can get involved with the categories as well. I love, Neil, you just had to go doing what I did and also pointed the wrong way. It's difficult, isn't it? It's down here somewhere, there. First of all, then, we're going to start with hopefully something positive. I didn't define this, but I just said moment of the season, and I hope neither of you picked a bad moment because that'd be crazy. I'll come to you, Matt, every time first, so we can kind of keep an order going, and I'll mention some ones in the comments as well. Moment of the season, Matt Lynch, what have you gone for?
I took this question a few ways, and I didn't ask you whether you wanted to play a particular moment of match or a game. So I went with the game approach, and I toyed with various ones, and in the end, I sort of settled on the Bayern victory as a moment of the season because it was a moment of magic by Duran that won us that game. So, yeah, for me, that's without a doubt the moment of the season. I thought about the Celtic game, PSG game, the Oracle Champions League game, but the Bayern game, because of that moment, it felt like a watershed moment in the sense of the journey that the club's been on. It felt like the fruits of our labour, if you like, was coming to fruition at that point to get to that point. So it's hands down for me. It's got to be that night and the atmosphere and everything connected to that night. And it was sort of that moment of lift off, I suppose, and that realisation that we're actually going to be here to compete and do some damage.
Yeah, and I had that feeling of, we can actually hold our own in the Champions League, and this could potentially be the start of something special. Yeah, I think that's again, I don't want to kind of downplay your pick here, but it's an easy pick that, it's obviously a big occasion. But you're absolutely well within your rights to take this in any direction that you want. Neil, what have you gone for, mate?
Surprise, surprise! I've gone for something similar. It's the exact same game, but the moment for me was when the Champions League music hit. In that game, more so like the game was brilliant and the plaudits we got, and literally my phone blew up here in Ireland with everybody just ringing me, texting me after the game, and I was like, I didn't play the game, guys. I just the only Villa fan in the village, that kind of sensation. But everybody, like my mates, were like, "Oh my God, Villa, we're well worth our win tonight. This is brilliant to see it. Delighted for you, delighted for Villa." But for me, big thing was when that anthem hit at the start. It was like it's real. It's you can reach out and touch it now, and that was fantastic for me. Personally, on my moment of the season was when the anthem hit when I was there to see Celtic. Obviously, look, I'm an Irishman. I grew up with with watching Celtic as well, and be able to see Celtic play against my favorite football team of all time, Aston Villa. For me was a big occasion. I know for a lot of the Irish of Birmingham and as well, it was a big occasion too. But when the anthem hit versus Bayern, and even watching it at home, there was a small bit of choking up, and right here it kind of caught me, and I was there. Yeah, this is big, and this is where we deserve to be.
Yeah, which makes the fiasco of not playing it against PSG like all the more annoying. Especially now we're not going to be in it again next season. That moment should have been a big thing, and it wasn't, and I'm still not over it. A couple of shouts from the comments. Bayern set the tone, says seeking winning against Bayern, said Johnny as well. That was amazing. McGinn's goal against PSG, says Aaron, gave me so much belief. It wasn't to be, but close. Is along the lines of what I've got. I've gone Consa PSG. But it's like, shall I go McGinn for the start of something? And obviously it's a great goal. Or the Consa one really made me think, we actually might do this, So I've just edged Consa, but the McGinn one was definitely the start of it as well. Gus says that 10 minutes against PSG, which, if you want to condense a moment into a period, maybe, I think that probably is the better answer to include both. The raw as Consa's goal hit the back of the net versus PSG, says Dicky. I'm on board with that one, and as are a couple of others. But I mean, it probably speaks for itself, doesn't it, that we've all picked Champions League moments. Shame, not in it again next season.
Just if you just preface it as we've picked European moments, just leave it at that.
Okay, Europe again, LA, etc. Yeah. Okay, a negative one this time, unless you've taken it in a totally different way than I anticipated. Miss of the season. Have you got anything for this, Matt? I mean, you should have, but
I've got misses of the season because given the season came down to goal difference, we don't need to look into that much further in terms of the difference. But Asensio missing 2 penalties in the same match. Yes, one was rebounded in, but you can't miss 2 penalties in the same match. You're a professional footballer, and at that moment in the game, it felt like it could have been a bigger moment than it was, and you expect a player of Marco Asensio's quality to finish that. I could have picked two of the moments that I'm sure you'll come on to. I mean, we can probably talk about how Watkins has missed X amount of chances this season, but I'm not here in the business of digging him out from that distance out from a penalty spot. You should be converting them. And granted, we missed a fair chunk of penalties this season, so probably could have picked a couple. But Asensio's 2, or perhaps even Tielemans has missed penalty earlier in the seasons as well. It's going to be one of the penalties, I'd say. There's a running theme.
Do you reckon has less weight to it because we still won the game, though?
Not when the season's come down to goal difference. Granted, there's more in it than that, but
more than 2, though.
I think that the fact that he's gone and taken the second one makes the second one even worse, probably. Yeah. And the optics don't look good on that either, I don't think, for me, given that Ollie was on a bit of a barren run at that time as well. I think that's got to be the one at this time, but to be fair, Asensio missed a couple of big chances, didn't he, this season for us? As we know, Watkins did, and I'm sure there's other ones as well. But I mean, I'm sure you guys will have other ones, but there's a few that come to mind in that ilk where there's moments, isn't there, where it could have been a big change, but for me, that one, just because, the optics don't look good either.
Neil?
Watkins penalty miss. The guy, two people have it there, Jam G and Shane O'Neill. I just thought that was a very it was a very poignant moment in that game when Watkins missed that chance. I think I might be freezing, but
no, I've still got you.
So I think that was a poignant moment, and exactly as Shane O'Neill says there, they went down and scored at the other end, and just because Palace have been such a bogey team for us, I think that was a real sliding doors moment in that game, and it was a real sliding doors moment. Not so much a sliding doors moment because we did go on to, to be very dominant in a lot of games afterwards, and we won so many games afterwards. But that was huge for me because it was a monkey. We need to get a monkey off our back by beating Palace at some stage, and they have been the thorn in our side all season.
Yeah. Okay. Before I do mine each time, I'm going to do some comments as well. Miss of the season from Peter as misunderstanding and gone for Mings picking up the ball. Not quite what I meant, but yeah, fair enough. I'll let you have it. Gus has gone for Concer's missed header against PSG. Bob has gone for Asensio's miss against PSG. Yeah, I was toying with that one as well. The one I've gone for is Watkins versus Arsenal, and take your pick.
Yeah,
because he missed a few chances that day, but the one that comes across him and I think he put his foot over the top of the ball and it's just gone underneath him is the one I'm thinking of. But he missed a couple of quote unquote sitters that day, and we were the better team against Arsenal. That's the only home game in the league that we lost, and we didn't even deserve that. And like you said, Matt, I'm not going to get into the catalogue of Watkins' misses and how many big chances he needs to get to score and all that rubbish at the moment. But that one in particular, the Arsenal one, it kind of had a feeling of like, oh, well, we played really well and we've not been able to capitalise. Is this going to become the theme of the season? And in some ways it was, some ways it wasn't. But I know everyone will say this, but with that result, we win that game, we're unbeaten all the way through at home, we're now in the Champions League. Oh, yeah, we're going to try not to keep doing that, but I think it's natural, isn't it? I'm going to start as well for the next one, best individual performance. Again, I'm expecting from a Villa player here, based off some of our other categories. But from the same game, I'm going to go Rodgers against Arsenal at Villa Park. I thought was one of the best Villa performances this season. I think you could probably pick a handful for Tielemans as well, without kind of spoiling some of your picks. I think he's been unbelievable in a couple of games as well. I think Rodgers has had other good games this season, but Arsenal at home, he was unplayable, like bouncing off Rice, and just looked a proper talent. What about you, Matt?
I've gone Rodgers, but against Celtic. As individual performances go, we needed somebody to stand up that night and be counted for, and he did just that. It was a magical performance, and that was, I think, a moment where Rodgers announced himself on the world stage beyond the four walls of the Premier League, if you like. That was a moment,
even just Villa Park.
Where I think that people stood up and went, "Wow, okay, this guy is a ridiculous talent." And for me, that was a crowning moment in his season, because I'd argue after Asensio came in, went a bit downhill for him, but as an individual performance, it was a world-class performance from him, and it was one that long live in my memories, I think, of watching Villa at Villa Park, to be honest.
Yeah.
I had Rodgers versus Arsenal, and then I also had McGinn versus PSG.
Yeah. Both legs, possibly, arguably.
Both legs, but certainly the second leg. I think, look, John McGinn is 30, going to be 31 going into the next season, I think. A lot of people have been saying, oh, where does McGinn fit in this team? What does he do? You know where he fits in? He fits in wherever the manager wants him to play, because that's the type of player that John McGinn is. And on that night, that specific night, he drove everybody on. And he did it because he had that band on his arm. And as a captain in a game that mattered, that ultimately we didn't get over the line in, but the roar, as you said, that 10 minutes against PSG was numbing to think, what happens if we do it? That was a numbing kind of situation. There's been other numbing situations from a negative point of view over the course of the season, but I thought McGinn was just the catalyst. He was the anchor in midfield. He did he looked like the £100 million player in both midfields that night. So I'm going to give it to John McGinn versus PSG. because I just thought he was absolutely immense.
Yeah, I think absolutely a fair shout, and one that came up in the comments from Paul. McGinn, 2 legs over PSG, captain's performance. Duran's cameo versus Bayern Munich. Rashford in the home game against PSG. Asensio versus Arsenal, really important goals. Maatsen versus Newcastle is a great show actually from Bob. That's probably his best game all season, Maatsen. And Stephen says the whole team versus Newcastle, so yeah, probably fair. Next category is best opponent faced. Now, you could have taken this as an individual performance for an opponent or a club best performance that we faced. I've kind of combined a little bit of both there, and this is a bit of a cop-out. I'm not going to talk about it because it explains itself. I've just put one of the PSG lads because they were pretty good, weren't they?
I've gone for Eze, to be fair, but I think the PSG answer is spot on as well. But I think I could have argued Crystal Palace as a whole because they've got our number by an absolute margin. I think I'd argue they're the only team, they're the kryptonite to Unai Emery at the moment. I don't think Emery knows what to do with against them. So if I was
at the back as well.
Yeah, so for a club answer, I'd go for Palace. Individual player, I'd go for Eze because he was unbelievable against us, especially in the semi-final. But yeah, it's got to be Palace or Eze. Delete is applicable on that one for me. I don't need to say much more about them.
Yeah. Neil?
And you two guys have stolen my answer, so I'm going to go completely rogue on this. So I have written down here Vitinha for PSV, or I had Mateta for Palace, but I'm going to go rogue, and I'm going to say in a 0-0 draw, as far as 0-0 draws go against Juventus, I thought Conceição, the winger, was absolutely brilliant against us. He's just a fantastic player. And I don't know what the story is with him at Juventus, where he's going to stay there or go back to Porto. But I hope Unai Emery had an asterisk beside his name, because that right wing position could be with Bailey going, and potentially with tweaking of the squad could become available. But I just thought he was really good. He was young, he was energetic, he was a proper winger, and he caused us fits for about 50 minutes of that game. And then we did shackle him, but I just thought it was a great 50 minutes. So I'm gonna go with that one to be different, because we're getting very samey answers for some of these.
I had another one in the mix here. Alex Palmer.
Yeah, good shout.
Home was a ridiculous performance on his debut as well.
Yeah,
it was one of the best performances I've seen from a goalkeeper at Villa Park. But I think I've seen a few goalkeepers this season have an absolute worldie against us.
Yeah, two cracking shouts there actually. Comments suggest there's 4 comments in a row, all saying Crystal Palace, so get used to that. Leighton, best opponent, that little number 7 for Juventus. There you go, Neil.
There we go.
Good shout. Aaron also says Alex Palmer. I don't know whether these are coming in after we've already said it, but yeah, fair play to those two as well for getting the same. Bournemouth's keeper, Donnarumma in the second leg. Yeah, Seeking says, amazing how our opponents suddenly play world class when they face us. Yeah, it does feel like that a little bit, doesn't it? Okay, next category. Actually, to be fair, in the order that I sent these to you, let's not do exactly the same order. So next category is assist of the season. Something a little bit unusual. It's normally about the goal. Well, like we said, it's probably Duran, one of Duran's. So assist.
If you guys pick this one, I don't have another one, so I can't fix this one up.
Okay, well, shall we all say Yuri Tielemans against Southampton on 3?
No.
No, okay, all right, there we go then. Tielemans assist for Watkins. Watkins great finish, the one that is he's plucked out of the air and taken first time over the keeper. Yeah, Tielemans for Watkins against Southampton for me.
I've got Tielemans against Forest the game before.
Okay, basically the same, wasn't it?
Basically identical, yeah. But for Rodgers, the way Rodgers took it as well, all in all, was a great goal, and Tielemans had a huge part to play in that one.
Yeah, okay. Is that the one you went for, Neil?
No, I've gone for the less purist option, and I've gone for Pau Torres' lump forward to John Duran's goal against Bayern Munich.
Yeah, fair.
Because it just, like, when you see it from the angle behind the goals, and you just see it just bends around and just meets John Duran, and nobody knows what's going to happen next. And then, of course, we all know what happens next when he curls it around Neuer into the back of the net. So I went with that one. Route 1, Jack Charlton style. I'm okay with that one.
I mean, I thought we were all going to pick the same then, or you did as well.
So did I. I was convinced everyone was picking that.
I don't know whether it's the one I'm thinking of, but I'm sure the ones that me and Matt have picked for Tielemans are both basically exactly the same, just different opponents. But Torres for Duran is a great shout, because it's easy to pick that goal, Duran's goal versus Bayern, as like the moment of the season, the best goal. So if we're kind of reverse engineering it, well, the assist was actually really good as well. So I think that's an absolutely fair shout.
There's some great shouts in the comments here as well. Rodgers outside of the foot. I know I can't remember who that was against. It was against as well, but I remember that that going in my mind's eye as well. And Cash's cross against Liverpool was good as well.
Yeah. I think Rodgers' assist for Rashford against Brighton as well.
Yeah,
the long ball over the top was kind of inch perfect for Rashford to run onto. Yuri against Southampton, Pau for Duran, Rashford assist for Konsa. My memory's terrible for some of the specifics, so yeah, let's just go for that. Rodgers outside of the left foot, can't remember who it was against. Again, same, but I agree.
That was the assist, wasn't it?
I remember it. Was that outside the foot? Was it? Okay, I just misremembered. The next category is the jury is still out on ... Now this one I felt was a little bit difficult, and I'm not sure I've kind of got the right kind of answer. I've gone Asensio, which doesn't really work if he doesn't sign for us. So this category kind of doesn't work for me if we don't sign him permanently. But if we do, part of me feels like, well, he's clearly a great footballer and there's something to work with, but I've not quite seen like that. He had a great first half of his spell and then a less great second half. So there's clearly something there. But if we're to commit to him full time for a transfer fee and his wages for 3 or 4 seasons, I'd still be a bit like, okay, well, is that like the best value we can get for that position? So the jury is still out in that sense. However, if we don't sign him, I don't have an answer for mine. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I raised my eyebrows when you told me that before, but then your argument makes total sense for me. I think it makes great sense. And again, I'm not going to lure into that one because if we don't sign him, it's a pointless conversation.
Yeah.
I saw Leighton has mentioned Pau, and I think the jury wouldn't have been out on him if it wasn't for the ankle injury, I would have said. But I think that ankle injury really derailed this season. So not necessarily jury out, but I'm intrigued to see obviously what happens there in the summer. But I've gone with Marlon, which could seem unfair.
Yeah. No, I think that's fine.
I don't want it to be unfair because I've backed him since the start when he's come in, always maintained he's going to be a big player for us next season. He was never due to be here this season. I've always maintained that. So for me, jury's still out because we've not seen enough of him. We've seen him for 10 minutes here and there. He's contributed well when he has had those 10 minutes, but jury's still out because we need him to start games next season. I think he's got a huge part to play next season as well.
I think that's fair. Neil?
Maatsen for me. Spent 35 million on a left back, and a 30-year-old kind of keeps you out of the team for a period of time. Now, I will preface this that I have watched the United game back again, and the last from 76 minutes onwards, Ian Maatsen, and sorry, this isn't going in hard on him or whatever. So what I'm saying is from the 76 minute onwards has probably biased me in this answer for this one, but the jury is out defensive wise on Ian Maatsen for me for sure. Had some cracking games, don't get me wrong, and there's some real excitement from him, just lightning pace, and he's a very good player. But for me, the jury, the way that just the jury is out for me on him at left back, and but I could completely see him coming in and ripping it up next year as well. But at this moment in time, that's what I'm picking.
Okay, fine. A couple of comments for Asensio. Asensio is not a complete player. Rodgers on the right, says Johnny, which I think is probably fair, although he's been able to still notch up goals and assists and still not over it. Should have had one yesterday as well. Marlon, I think, is a decent answer, not in the sense that we don't rate him, but I just want to see more of him, so can't quite make a full judgment on him yet. I think there's definitely a spark in there, but because Emery's not opting to play him for his own reasons, we can't form that opinion just yet. Dean, Maatsen and Moreno. Oh, that's the different one. My bad. Play, keep or sell. We'll do that another time. Joey is still out on Onana, says Damien. He's great when he gets a run in the team, but apparently he doesn't want to play unless he feels 100%. Now, I said that from an Everton colleague of ours, who Everton had a decent relationship with the club and would have heard things that if Onana's not like 100% ready in his body, he doesn't quite fancy it. Now, that's something that I've spoken about, so I don't want to kind of spread false information that that's how it still is, or that might have been hearsay from a previous club and a different colleague or whatever else. But I don't think I would class Onana or Maatsen as being the jury still out. I think I want to see more of them, absolutely, but I know there's something in there.
Yeah, I think that's a fair reflection. I think that it's quite easy to point to both of them because they were high ticket items, weren't they, last summer? So it's quite easy to, I think, to put them there. The Martin one I sort of get because we haven't seen enough of him, I don't think. I think that I saw Jacob Tanswell had posted yesterday. I think it seems that he has an usurped Dina at this point now. So I think the jury won't be out on him come 10 games next season because probably an argument where Dina's around. Anyway, separate conversation. As for Onana, I mean, I don't think he's been fully fit for large spells of the season, seemingly. He's had patches of form where he's been at the team, but I think somebody saw there. I think we'll see the best of him next season. I think that's probably a fair reflection of it. But I think it was smart business last summer. So I think we need to see more goal contributions for him. So you could see where the jury's still out on him there as well.
Okay, fair enough. The next category is favourite kit. Back brackets. We've had 5 now, technically. Home, away, and third. Anniversary kit. And it's not really 5, but obviously we played at Old Trafford in next year's kit. So we have played in five kits this season. Neil, I'll come to you first for this one, just for no reason at all. Favourite kit?
I love the anniversary one. I don't know why. It's just a black T-shirt, but I don't know. It was the one I went, I have to have this kit. It just screamed like... I think it's the badge. I think it's also the fact that there was something around that period of time. Like there was something around that period of time whereby I just could not get enough of Aston Villa. I mean, I literally would have washed my face in if someone had told me that the puddle was full of Aston Villa on the ground, I would have washed my face in it. Like I could not get enough of it. And like for somebody who does a podcast and has to be immersed in it the whole time, I was at another level. I was in this, and we weren't going great at the time, which was the thing. I think I was just so looking forward to going over to see Villa versus Celtic as well that literally I was like, hook it to my veins. And when that came out, I was like, right, give me this. I need it right now. But saying that at the start of last season, when the kit dropped and there was Ozzy Osbourne did all that stuff, I was the same for the home kit. I think I've been like that for all of them really. The third kit I could give or take. It's probably one I wear the most because which I probably shouldn't because vertical lines or horizontal lines and my body type don't exactly lend themselves to it. But the black one, I don't know why it is. It's like I have it every time I look at it. I go, oh, I don't know. It's just it's because of the 150, I think, and it's because it's going to always be special. The fact that we're one of the first clubs to reach 150 years, and it just goes to show the massive history that we have in English football. So I think that's it for me.
It's 100% win record as well in that kit. So that's always a nice little bonus. Because I quite like the away, but we've had some terrible results in it. Matt, have you got a favourite?
Third kit by a mile. I loved that. I loved that shirt. I think the core memories come back to that with the Acorns logo on, like young boys away, seeing us in that kit. We looked top notch in that game wearing that. We looked at the dogs, and since then I've loved it. As a shirt, I think it's a work of art and a masterpiece with the silver trim on it. The home, just did a really good job with all the kits this season, I'd say. But the third was, loved it.
Yeah, I'm wearing the home shirt for those that are listening, and it doesn't look as good on me as it does on the players. The players look better in everything, and the pro shirts are definitely a better quality than the replica, 100%. Having seen them up close and personal now, obviously at the end of the season. But I'll pick home, not just to be different, but the colours are spot on. I think it's the best claret that we've had probably in my lifetime. And if Adidas do nothing else for us ever again, I hope that this claret becomes the standard for the club, that every manufacturer has to be this kind of colour.
Yeah, I have a bugbear about that because it's bloody simple. Get the colour of the claret right. It really is. Do you know why? Because
it's so hard.
I'm sure Rob Warner would disagree.
Yeah, this is why we need Rob. Rob, text me,
I know
please.
Rob would disagree with this, but like coming from an architectural background previously, the club has official RAL colours that you can pick, and they have the numberized, like the categorized RAL numbers. Like you think back to the old NTL jerseys that Diodora did, and we had this kind of psychedelic purple. It wasn't even claret.
The Under Armour ones, though. The Under Armour ones were horrendous.
Like how? What?
I think different materials and stuff will have an impact to try and be Rob Warner for a minute. But
I'm not having it in 2025 that you can't get the colour of a t-shirt right. I'm not having it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I mean, Rob, come back, Rob. Please.
I know.
You'll definitely have an answer.
This is me goading Rob to come on right now. He's going to burst in and go, "What's this I hear about shirts?"
I'd love that. I'm glad I included that, a little bit of a nonsense section, because that was just something different. Like I said, the alternative awards. Next up, I've got biggest surprise. Now, we planned this show before Man United. We knew that we were going to do it, and this was one of the categories. Now, I left mine blank because I wanted to say we actually got over the line to get in the Champions League. So I don't have an answer now, because that, not a surprise, is not we wouldn't have deserved it, but we put that run together at the end. We got over the line. Like, I surprised at one stage of the season. And after Palace, I wasn't even sure we were going to get into Europe at all, never mind anything else. So I was hoping to say my biggest surprise, ... is that we actually got over the line. Because we didn't, I don't have an answer for this. Have either of you got an answer for it that actually makes sense?
I've got two, so I'll give you the first one then, see if anything gets brought up. But my first biggest surprise is that United didn't crack Oliver Glasner.
Yeah.
You mean crack his tactics and not punch him?
Crack his nose.
Yeah, but I'm really surprised that we didn't find some way to get the better of him, considering since Glasner's been in charge, we've not been able to lay a glove on them.
Yeah.
But my actual main one that I was thinking of on this question was, in fact, our January transfer window. I did not see that window panning out anything like what happened.
Yeah.
The idea we were going to sign Rashford in the sense Duran was going to leave. You should have told me that on the 1st of January. I'd have told you not a prayer. So to come out,
I was quite against Rashford, actually.
Was really, I mean, it is the biggest surprise for me.
When the kind of the press started to come out, I'm pretty sure it was a Thursday or a Friday maybe, and it kind of, the window was still a couple of days to run. It was like Villa linked with Rashford, and we did a whole piece on it, and I wasn't sure because of attitude and his time at United and all that kind of stuff, and I was a little bit apprehensive over it. So to be fair, it's a decent shout. Rashford was better than I thought, and I think, I'm not saying we didn't get into the Champions League because he was injured, but would the season have ended differently if he was available for Palace? And I mean, he wouldn't have played against United, and we won the other game. So no, then I guess the season potentially wouldn't have been any different. But yeah, Rashford's a good shout. Couple of comments quickly before I come to you, Neil. So if I nick one, just tell me I've nicked it, and we can move on. Probably Rashford and Asensio signing, says Ad. Who's Johnny? Oh, Johnny says Olsen finishing the season in goal. Yeah, I was pretty sure after the end of season awards he would never play for us again, and then all of a sudden he does, because as Aaron says, Martinez getting sent off, biggest surprise. John, the massive fallout from Bailey. Yeah, if you'd have told us at the start of the season that the season he was about to have, I think we'd all have been surprised by that. And Damien says, being within touching distance of Arsenal with 2 games to go, they almost came third in a 2-horse race. Neil, have I pinched one of yours, or do you have a different surprise?
No, I'll tell you a little story about the Rashford side. You know, that was a real surprise to me when I found out nearly a day and a half after it happened, because when he signed, I was on day 2 of my stag, and I was dressed as Bret the Hitman Hart, and I had about 2.5 kegs of Guinness on me when Rashford signed. So people said it to me at the time, and I remember people congratulating me, but I sunk in, like, I think on the Tuesday I went, oh yeah, Rashford actually signed. Yeah, so that was a massive surprise to me on the Tuesday. But I think for me, the biggest one for me was and it shouldn't be a surprise because he'd basically twerked for about 4 other teams prior to that, but it was the ease at which John Duran just went, yeah, I'm off.
Yeah.
I thought that was a big surprise. And he's like, yeah, I'm off to Saudi. You know, that was a surprise to me, because, you know, it just goes to show that we could, as a team and as a management structure, I don't think they could have ever weathered the storm with John Duran. I don't think they would have ever been able to make him fully happy. And I think that just kind of proved, like, an exceptionally good player. Like this, you can pack the player and you can pack the person, I think, together like jeepers. If we had John Duran down the stretch as another striker to be able to bring in, you know, it's like, but then again, you say we had Rashford. Yes, we did. Rashford was fine, but then Rashford gets injured 5 games out from the end of the season. You know, imagine having John Duran as well in there. I know it's ifs and buts, but I was very surprised at the ease at which he just went, yeah, I'm off to Saudi. Yeah, good. At 21 years of age and the whole of his career ahead of him. And I thought that was a big surprise.
I mean, flip side
also,
of that.
I thought Moussa Diaby leaving to go to Saudi was a big surprise too.
Yeah.
In the summer.
Flip side of the Duran one, I've seen people, and I thought we got past this already, but after United yesterday, people like posting goal compilations of Duran saying, if only we had him yesterday, he's gone, move on, forget it. He didn't want to be here, like literally couldn't care less. I don't know what he's done since, I don't know how many goals he's got, completely irrelevant. I mean, we don't go to aways between us, well, as a generalisation. So we've got here, because I thought John might be doing this episode at one point, ground that you're happy not to go back to. Now, you could take this as like Selhurst Park, it'd be nice not to go back there ever again. But from the 3 that were relegated, is the question here, that obviously you won't, if you go to every game, you won't be at these next year. St Mary's, Portman Road, or the King Power. I mean, Southampton's quite a long journey, and so is Ipswich. So for travel perspective, it's probably that Ipswich we didn't win at. So maybe that one. Any thoughts on this one, either of you two?
I had gone for the King Power because I always feel like we labour there. I mean, I remember we relied on a bit of magic from Bertrand Traore a few years ago, didn't we, to win there? And I've just got all these flashbacks of the Tim Sherwood game, which in truth was the high and the low of our relegation season in 2015, wasn't it? So King Power, I'd probably edge my bets on at this point because I just feel like we're always quite laboured there for whatever reason, and there's just been a few. I mean, the Bertrand Traore was a great memory there, and obviously this season we won there, but there's just too many other shakes that
when they were better.
Yeah, give me the shakes, I think.
Neil?
I'm going to say the formerly known, I'm going to go completely rogue here because I'm going to say the formerly known Ricoh Arena and currently, what is it, the Coventry Building Society Association Stadium. The fact that they didn't get promoted. Just happy we don't have to go there next year. I just said I'd throw that one in there because, why not? Because
it's a nice way of answering it, to be fair, going a different way. I don't mind it. Right, okay, we've got 3 categories left, I think. Let's go Jekyll and Hyde next. The most Jekyll and Hyde performance. So good and bad, effectively. Now, I thought this was a difficult one to nail down a specific, partly because my memory's poor. And it's also kind of, to me anyway, semi-difficult to go and find that because you've got to remember the game and the actual performance. So I went through some of our results to try and reverse engineer an answer. So I've got Spurs away. We were 1-0 up in the first half through Rodgers and then lost in the second half and ended up losing 4-1. So I can't remember it specifically, but there's no way that wasn't a bad second half, and it must have been a decent enough first half for us to be leading. So Jekyll and Hyde in that sense. Matt, have you got an answer?
I had a couple that came up. One was Wolves at home earlier on the season, 1-0 down at half time.
Oh, so the opposite, coming back in a good half. Right, yeah, fair.
Went to the place out, and then we had a brilliant second half. That was the first one I noticed. Ironically, I gave you this question, so I should have a good answer for it, shouldn't I? In that sense of the word. And then the other one that I've written down here was probably Palace game 2-2, because I felt that we were really good actually in a lot of points in that match, and then it sort of all petered away as a whole and made a bit of a mess of it. Obviously, in the end, didn't we to draw 2-2 in that one? I think it was. So, but yeah, in terms of one where it was clear night and day, it was probably the Wolves game I've got noted down.
Okay, fine. Neil?
I misunderstood the question.
What have you got?
I had a player written down for Jekyll and Hyde for the season.
Yeah, I mean, based on the comments that are coming through, that's a fine thing as well. We'll touch on in a sec.
Yeah, because what I had was I thought Cash finished, and look, this is going to go down like a lead balloon after he's passed back to Martinez. But I thought in a whole
that was like he kicked a lead balloon.
Cash started, yeah. He kicked it like it was a bit of lead, but I thought he started the season decidedly averagely, and like we were finding reasons not to play him.
Yeah.
At times we're playing Lamar Bogart in there, we're playing this Khan's out there, Garcia comes in, we even played him, and I thought over the balance of power in the last 9 games, save for the last game, I thought he looked like he was a better version of himself. So that's where I would say Hyde and Jekyll. Because in that instance, but yeah,
I think overall he's had a good season and definitely grew into it in the second half. I completely agree. But Man United,
it's going. Yeah, as I say, like I'm fully expecting the chat room to light up now here, but I had misunderstood the assignment.
No, it's fine. We spoke about it a bit in the post match for United. Like, you can't do what you did against Bournemouth and keep us in the game and then help throw away a game afterwards that kind of meant the Bournemouth goal line clearance was basically pointless.
Someone
anyway,
made a great point there. Paul 160889 Everton 2-0 down. Actually, that's a good shout. We were 2-0 down after half an hour, and the next thing, boom, threw on the afterburners, and we never looked like we were losing that game then after.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. I mean, there's comments in terms of performances. You've got Forest away, PSG at home, Bruges, the home leg. But in terms of individuals, which is absolutely a fine way of taking it, Johnny's gone Tyrone Mings handling the ball in the Bruges game and then kind of making up for it in the other Bruges game by being immense. An individual performance from somebody, Martinez yesterday says add some good saves, then madness. And Bailey last season to this season, kind of not Jekyll and Hyde performances this year, but last year compared to this one, again, also absolutely fair. And I'm glad we're doing this live because we've got our answers, but Villa fans listening will absolutely help contribute to this as well. So thank you for that. Couple left. Which one? Let's get it out of the way because I think there's an obvious answer to this. What is the most classic Villa moment of the season?
I've got two here noted down.
You could have many.
I think, 2-2 against Ipswich because we were against 10 men for 60 minutes, which feels like the Aston Villa about the past 10 years to not manage to win that. And then the FA Cup semi-final before we'd even kicked a ball. I could tell what was going to happen there, to be honest with you. I could have written that script a million times over. So FA Cup or the Ipswich game, because I look at it and we dropped 4 points. It would have been 4 points against Ipswich, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So from that perspective, so frustrating. So probably classic Villa moments is those two for me.
Yeah.
I'm just going to jazz it up and I'm going to say the referee blowing the whistle before Morgan Rogers headed the ball in against Juventus. I wouldn't do it, you guys. I wouldn't bring up the hardship of yesterday. But given the free, it wasn't a free. I thought that was ridiculous. I thought it really was ridiculous, and I thought that it was like a classic Villa thing that, we have put another European joint to the pin of its collar, and then something finds its way to slam the door shut in the last minute, last kick of the game, when we should be jubilant. Morgan Rogers should be celebrating, running away, and then all of a sudden, the foul, it wasn't a foul, but because the whistle was, anyway. It was eerily similar.
Yeah. Couple in the comments before I do mine. FA Cup semi-final is in there, as you would expect. Bob says missing 2 penalties in the same game, as we referenced earlier. Ad says every first shot on goal scored against us is very classic Villa. Paul says away form versus home form, which is probably an answer for the last question, to be honest, that Jekyll and Hyde that Villa are away from home as they are at Villa Park. Leighton says another classic Villa performance was Arsenal at home, start of the season, probably one of our best all season, yet the only one that we lost at home. John says, I'm going for the cheesy answer, making Villa Park a fortress with great Champions League atmosphere added in. Is that classic Villa? That's probably a different one as well. Hoyland scoring against us after not scoring in his first 9 appearances for United. We all seem to give chances to players who need a handy goal. Was Eriksen's penalties first goal of the season or something yesterday as well? I think they were saying on commentary, which I thought, obviously it is. I'd filled in my answers before Sunday and I'd put classic Villa moment is only getting 2 points from Ipswich. I then scrubbed that out and put Man United on the final day, because how can it not be classic Villa? To the point of results went our way as well. And it still wasn't enough. We still just couldn't scrape a horrible draw and go, Newcastle lost with the Champions League. That's classic Villa.
Just another bit here is that, Dan, you told me, you said in the pod a while ago that it would never come down to goal difference. That's a very classic Villa moment.
I've had a few classic Villa moments this year on the podcast by predicting. I was like, well, Newcastle will win, Chelsea won't win, and Villa will beat United, and none of those 3 things happened. So my predictions have been poor all year. I'm actually not change predictions on the podcast next year and just not do them. Just change it and do something else. On the goal difference thing, I did 1874 this morning with Dan to help him out, and I said, because goal difference has cost us by definition of we finished 6th on goal difference. But to me, I was a bit like, it has, but it kind of hasn't, because it's not close goal difference. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you're playing the whole goals are worth a point or whatever.
Yeah, kind of like
there's enough of a difference in goals for a
yeah.
swing.
Like I thought it wouldn't. I thought it wouldn't be a thing before United because we'll win the game, and that's why it wouldn't matter. Because I didn't see all the others winning as well, like they didn't. But goal difference, we wrote it off ages ago because we were in the minus for ages. We were nowhere near the others. So goal difference, technically, yes, is why we're 6th. But the gap is like, is it minus? Is it like something like 6 and 20 or whatever? So it's not like, oh, that if we'd have just scored that one goal or we didn't concede that one goal at Man City, we'd be in, and goal difference has cost us. We're like 20 goals away. So not scoring 20 goals or not conceding 10 goals is what's cost us, in my opinion. Not, do you know? I know I've got a massive shovel digging a hole here, but do you know what I mean?
I'm playing devil's advocate.
So there's a comment saying like, how does he not understand that we've I understand that we're not 5th by goal difference as a technicality, but we're not close enough for goal difference to have been a deciding factor anyway.
And
1 or 2 goals, I'll be like, oh yeah, we've really, really ruined that there.
I absolutely agree, and I think on the balance of power over the whole game, that over the whole season, the 4-1 loss to Spurs, like that's an outlier loss. The 3-0 loss to Chelsea was an outlier loss. We were going on a badish run of form at that period of time as well.
Yeah.
There's a 6-goal swing. Also, I would say at times this year we haven't been ruthless enough. Winning games 1-0 is great, and I know why we do that. I know there's and people are going to hate this, but hey, sports science is something. The conservation of energy that smaller squads need, and plus we were going through injury hell as well. I think next year the team, well, it's hard to know what the team will be, but I think next year one of the goals for Unai Emery will have to be to, if you're beating a team 1-0, make sure you beat them 2-0. And just stop that would stop the Forest comeback that we had, the Ipswich comeback that we had, the Bournemouth comeback.
And then goal difference wouldn't be a thing because we just get more points.
That's it. Yeah.
My thinking was that it's easier to get one more point over the course of 38 games than it is that we've missed out on goal difference because we're 20 goals away from Newcastle or whatever the figure is. Anyway, yes, we have lost out on goal difference for everyone who keeps telling me that, oh, you didn't say it was going to matter. Yeah, I know. All right, leave me alone. Not you, but like I've had so many tweets, I told you.
No, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No one's saying to me that before,
I totally get it.
Before Fulham, when everyone was going, well, we'll win the final 4 games and get 12 points and get into the Champions League easily because Villa are really good now. I actually said we wouldn't win all 4. So, who's the gotcha now? I told you we wouldn't win all 4, and I'm really annoyed about it. Right, the final category in this episode is the best Unai Emery soundbite, quote, press conference line, whatever you want to go with. I've got one. I think there could be a selection of many here. Go on, Matt. You go first. Hopefully you've not picked mine.
I've gone with no way.
Yeah.
Yes,
Martinez.
So good. The way he delivered it. I mean, there'll be there's other ones that come to mind straight away, but just the way he delivered that line, I texted you straight away and said that's my quote of the season from Unai. It was just to the absolute, the delivery was just so good. And then just mic drop away I go.
It's a funny one because now that I've woke up this morning and I went, no way I think you might have been like, no way you're asking me that question, or no way.
Yeah, I think it might have been that,
that's kind of where I came. But in the moment, it's like, yeah, we're going to beat United and Martinez is staying. Then I woke up this morning and I went, oh yeah, maybe.
He said afterwards, he said like, see you later as well, which like adds to it. He's like, no way, see you later. But I kind of do wonder whether it's not like lost in translation, but a bit like I'm so tunnel vision on the game. How dare you ask me about this now? We'll speak later about it, rather than no way, we've not seen him for the last time. It's potentially a tricky one that. Have you got a pick, Neil?
Europe. I thought that was great, and I knew somebody would have that. But he's had lots of really good quips this season. He's had a lot of angry interviews afterwards, which I like to see from a manager. But yeah. It's Europe. Yeah.
I mean, you've not done it there, and I'm going to try not to copy it too much, but the delivery of that is good as well.
Yeah.
Europe. Europe. It's like, yes, mate, go for it. You tell them, mate. And that I think that was just after like we're definitely guaranteed Europe now, rather than what competition we're going for. And like we said before, I don't want to. It's not the time for it, but I think on reflection, at some point, it's yes, we are in Europe again for the third year in a row. It's the competition will be a favourite for, etc., etc. And just that recognition of yes, Champions League would have been amazing, and we all wanted it, and we arguably should have got it in the end, because we shouldn't have had such a disaster class on Sunday. Europe is that's the key message. We're still there. We're still building. If that's Europe, which doesn't sound like a word anymore, and it's a thing. Just like this is Villa now. Like in some fashion, Villa are in European competitions. Then that's a good thing for the club all round. That was our final category. Yeah. I enjoyed that, gents. Did you enjoy it?
Good fun. Some cracking answers as well. Over the course of the season, it's so easy to forget stuff. I know the comments have suggested so many, but I think that's made it, to be fair, for anything, because we've been able to discuss these other ones, because there's been some brilliant moments that are fitting for some of these awards as well. So, no, thank you for having me on.
No, thank you for doing it. Likewise, Neil. I know you're a very busy man, so I really appreciate you coming on. I wanted to do something different. We did it last year as well. If we just sat here and talked about Tielemans for a bit being really good and Duran's goal against Bayern or Everton or whatever, it's like, we kind of know that anyway. They're all pretty obvious answers. Picking kind of silly categories throws up silly talking points, and doing it live and having the comments get involved as well as really, for me, elevated it to kind of just a trip down memory lane and bit of a distraction as well after Sunday. I thought the mood of this, because obviously we planned it before the game, could have been a little bit low, but I've enjoyed myself, as have you two, as have the comments by the look of them. So thanks everyone for getting involved. Next episode will be tomorrow afternoon. Me and John Townley are heading into the office on the morning, and we're going to do like keep, sell, loan kind of thing, assessing Villa's squad depth and what their futures look like now, having qualified for the Europa League rather than the Champions League. And tomorrow is also our Hockley live show as well, in which every time I talk about it, more people cancel their free tickets. Probably like a reminder of like, oh yeah, I was going to that tomorrow, but I don't fancy it anymore, which is fine. Like, I get it. It's the first day back at work tomorrow after a bank holiday. So Sunday happened. The thought of going to sit to hear about Villa and missing out, I get it. However, the aim for tomorrow is let's look forward rather than backward. We're not going to discuss what went wrong at Old Trafford and that bloody referee. We've done all that. It's in the past now. We look forward to transfer business, the squad for next year. Let's go and win the Europa League. All those things. That's what tomorrow is about. A celebration, for want of a better word, of a good season overall, tinged with a bit of disappointment. But we'll talk through all that at the live show. So if you come in, please come, get involved. Good food, good beer, etc. It's a great venue at Hockley. We were really grateful for them for letting us put on a show for the third or fourth year in a row. I can't remember what it is. If you do want to cancel your tickets, like I said, it's absolutely fine. Just it allows other people to snap them up, because we're basically at capacity anyway. So if you know you're not coming, please just do that. Venue opens at 5. Show starts at 8. Ty Bracey, James Rushton, Max Stokes and Dan Mardell will all be there. We're doing a Q&A that you can get involved with as well. So you drive the show as always, and it will be recorded as well. So for those of you who can't make it and they're listening on podcast feeds or YouTube, you'll be able to hear all the show as well, minus the bits where Dan Bardell goes on and rants about Chris Heck that I have to cut out for legal reasons. But if you're in the room, you get those things for you there instead. Gents, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me as always. Thank you to those who watch along live and help contribute to the show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, oh no, I pressed the wrong button. Let's just put the Champions League background on for a bit. Why not? If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can leave reviews there and comments, etc. If you're watching on YouTube after the fact, scroll down and leave your thoughts as well. Right, everyone. Cheers for watching, and we'll see you Tuesday afternoon. Where's the button? Bye, everyone. Bye.